Hello. I literally have probably 10 or 15 minutes to squeeze this in, and it's just been one of those weeks. I really wanted to make a video on how to make the alien with the strange forehead. And during that week, I reduced him. So this is the large size, and this is the small size. And now that I've been making the small ones, I wrote out a pattern and then promptly sat on it. So I got squash. Well, not sat on it with my bum. I sat on it with my legs. And it's just been one of those crazy things. So I have a few minutes alone in the apartment and no background noise. TV's off and everything. And what I did was, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pattern out here, and then you can screenshot it. And then if you're really interested, you can screenshot the pattern and basically you'll have it. It's not perfect, but it is a comfort doll. So this is for people who know how to make comfort dolls. It's not a complete beginner's guide. If I ever get around to making a complete 1 or 2 hour video on how to knit it from beginning to end, then yes. So just please screenshot that, and then you've got it. So what I did was, this morning while waiting to get a few minutes to do the video, I knitted up 2 of the bodies. I'm using ID needles, and they are Spitzentips, which is a lace tip. So it's got a lace and a basic, and the one side is pointed and the one side is not. These are 2.25s because that is the thickness of the yarns I'm using, which are Stylecraft Specialty K. Some of the Stylecraft Specialty K is thicker, for instance this one, and then I go up to 2.5. And some are very, very thin, for instance this one, and then I ideally go down to a 2. I didn't on this one, and you can see the gaps, so I should have gone down to a 2 more with that one. The pattern basically is to cast on 25. Let me zoom in. You cast on 25 stitches, and then you work your way all the way up, and then periodically there's a purl stitch involved, which are markers, so that when you sew him up, the markers are all in place. This row here, row 11, has markers for the underarm, what I call the armpits. This is a marker for the crotch. And then here this is row 17, as a little marker for where the neck will be done. I have reached the 25th row is next, and I need to make loops for the eyes. So I'm going to do that on camera. The loops for the eyes is basically yarn over needle, and what it does, when you come back on the next row, you basically have a buttonhole. It does increase the row by 1. You can decrease there, but it makes a bump. So I have, instead of decreasing, some of them I was decreasing, and I made a bump where the decrease was. So all I did was just leave the stitch, and then when I came to decreasing for the forehead, I just had 2 extra stitches in the row. That was a big one. This is the little one. The big one has 3 stitches between the it has 3 stitches between the 2 decreases. This one has 1 stitch between the decreases. So what I want to show in this little video is how to make the loops for the eyes, and then what I will also do is show you how I decrease the first row. This is not a video on sewing up. I do have videos on how I sew up and how I stuff and all that. So this is really how to make the miniature alien. The pattern says for the eyes, it's row 25, knit 10, loop over needle, knit 5, loop over needle, knit 10. It'll give me 27 stitches, because I cast on 25. And then I continue until row 29 is completed, and I sew the eyes in before I do the antenna. I can do the antenna first, it doesn't really matter, but it gives me a nice flat material to work on. And I have little button eyes, and they literally go in there, and then with the same color I work the button in place. So it's very, very simple. Now because the buttons bulge out, these are safety buttons. They don't bulge out because they clip right in. But the buttons bulge out because that's how buttons are designed, because then you can button up your jersey. And there is a space underneath them and it doesn't look good. So this one here, I tried to glue the buttons down and it was unsuccessful. And that's when I decided to make a ring out of crochet. And then I put the ring over, pull the magic circle tight, and it's in place. So it's quite simple once you understand the mechanism behind the alien. He's actually quite a simple little creature. So the loop over, I'm just going to show you, as this video is going to be super short. I'm just going to show you how to do the loop over. So I knit 10, 1, 2. I'm using the blunt side of the needles, and then when I do the decrease, I use the lace. The lace tip, because it's pointy. 2, 4, 6, 8. 10. You do loop over yarn over needle, and you can go in either direction. It depends which is more comfortable for you. You can go this way and then work the next stitch. You can go that way and work the next stitch. Depends what's more comfortable. See, this one is not the ideal for me because look how it doesn't want to stay in place. So I do it that way. I go forward, and then I do the next stitch. Now the next stitch will count as one of the 5. That is an independent stitch. Now you knit 5. So I already knitted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yarn over needle, whichever way you want to go. And you just knit to the end. And that should be 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I do suggest that you double check. If it's a very long row, then put markers in place, because if you're off by a few stitches, then your whole thing is going to be messed up because your eyes are going to be in the wrong place. So it is really worth it to double check. And that's how you do it. When you come back, you will simply knit that loop as a stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which are normal stitches. As from the next one, I'm going to purl. I'm not going to knit it. Sorry, it's a purl row, so I'm going to purl it. There it is. Purl it, and now I have a buttonhole. I do 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, buttonhole, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, my yarn fell on the floor. Now it's pulling. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you have successfully made holes. a little trick if you're making a jersey, if you want your buttons and your buttonholes to line up exactly, then you do this on both sides of the side of the jersey, you know, when you're going up and down. And you sew your buttons in like that, so that if you're using these kind of buttons, I do prefer these buttons into the flat ones. I have the flat ones, but I do like these ones. They're not as comfortable to sleep on, so if baby's sleeping on his front, that'll hurt. But if it's a little jacket or a little jersey that they use to go out and about, and baby doesn't sleep on his front, because if baby's sleeping on his front, you want flat buttons. But yeah, then you can just, all your buttons can be, you sew them in like that. You put them through, you sew them in. Keep them close to the jacket as well, because look how thin this is. These buttons, they do stand up. So it's just a little trick as well. I love markers. If you're knitting a baby thing, and you can just make one little pearl like that, and then when you come to sew your buttons on, you know exactly where to put them. You don't have to count stitches all the way up and down your bands. Yes. I'm getting sidetracked. Oh la la. So we've done that, and you've continued until row 29. You'll sew your eyes in. As I said, you just push them through, and I sew them into place with I use a very, very small sharp pointed chenille needle, and I go in and then I tie knots at the back, and it's done. Now for the decrease, here we are at the decrease, so that we can get this lovely shape there. As I said, the larger the alien. So I first started off with, how many stitches did I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that was 5, and I thought, no, it didn't have to be that big. It's not horrible, but I just wanted something a bit smaller. Let's change the shape a little bit here as well. What you do on the last row. Last row is I pull 2 together 2 times, pull 1, pull 2 together 2 times. So I go from 9 stitches until I get 5. So let me just show you one row on how I do it, and then you can follow the pattern. So normally I put the eyes in there, but in this case I'm not. And I have counted my rows. I put a mark in 20, so I don't have to keep counting from the bottom. So it's 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then of course 9. That's the row on the needle, is the 9, 29. So now I'm on the 30th. And the pattern calls for purl 11, purl 2 together, purl 1, purl 2 together, purl 11. So I'll use the sharp side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, purled 11. You can see that's when the lace tips come in handy. Purl 2 together. Give it a little tug, but it doesn't have to be excessive. Purl 1, purl 2 together. Give it a little tug, doesn't have to be excessive. Pull to the end. Because I add colors into the forehead by going up and down, I don't need it to be excessively tight, because those colors are literally part of the design. So no, I don't over tug or pull the the decreases. It becomes a feature. And then that's how you continue. And you have to decrease every single row. So this one, it was row 30. Row 31 is knit 10, knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 10. And I continue until I have 9 stitches left, and then I'll do row 36, which is a bit different. And then I do the antenna, which is basically stocking stitching over these 5 stitches until desired length. I do about 12 rows. I cut long rows, sew antenna, and I add the rings because mine are all going to be used for hanging on handbags. This one's got 2. I don't know why that one over there had 1. They all have 2. Okay. So if I'm going to do a knit row, take the sharp pointed end, and it says knit 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've knitted 10, and the pattern is showing me. You can see where that little V is there. It's always good to learn the design of stitches so you can see where you're going wrong or you're going right. Okay, everything's fine. Knit 2 together. Knit 1. If you find it's tricky to knit 2 together, I have another way of decreasing as well. I lift one off. I knit the next one, and I go back and I fetch that one and I bring it back. That's also a way of decreasing, knitting 2 together. Give it a good tug because you might have a large loop at the back there. Give it a good tug, and then you knit to the end. As I said, these lace tips are fantastic for working. Well, many people said amigurumi is mainly crochet, but I do like to knit the small creatures. The craving for me really started when I was making mice for the cat shelter. I literally washed them yesterday. I put them into the washing machine and they were washed yesterday. Here they come out. So even with the washing machine, this is not Starcraft Special DK. This particular one over here is from Aldi or from Wilko's, I'm not too sure. I got grey from both of them. And sometimes with the mice, this one over here is actually sewn up. Yes, he's sewn up here. I have 2 different designs. Some of them are sewn up here. And let me see if I can find the other design. Yeah, this is the latest design. I'm sewing up there. And I've stuffed them a lot, and they have little rattles in them. So even I could wash it even with the rattle. The rattle is sealed. It's a little sealed rattle, plastic rattle. So this is a combination of knitting and crochet, crocheting discs, and then crocheting an outer layer. And all the tail ends, whenever I'm finished with the color, I leave it extra long. And then when everything has been put in place, the eyes, the ears, the tail, all those tail ends, I work to the front and use as whiskers. So I don't have to add more color, more yarn for the whiskers. These are literally all, that's from working the tail, or from the ears, from the eyes. This is even the tail on where I started and ended the work. So you can see, that's my little mouse. I made hundreds of these guys. Getting sidetracked, and like I normally do. And yeah, just continue. And then you come to the last row, and you're going to stocking stitch. What I do is I sew up a little bit, then I go back up and I add the rings. So I first close it up a little bit. I have found a video by a woman called Iruda Ginny. She's in South Korea, and she shows a way of sewing up your little knits in a way. I didn't do it because it's very, very meticulous work. So I did these little dolls with her, a video, yesterday and the day before, and I just sewed up my way, but she sews up a way where it becomes absolutely invisible. I highly suggest her videos, Aruda Genie. I'll put a link at the bottom to her channel. So if you want to have a seamless, if you want to sew up your little creature in a way that you literally cannot see where it is, then see how she does it. Her videos are beautifully done. Thank you very much for watching, and wishing you a wonderful day. Oh, how to make this, yeah, this crochet, just literally crochet, take whatever color you want. I should have shown you. Turn it over. So it's about to go, and then I've got, this is a 2.5. You can use a 2.25, 2.5, whatever you have. Also depends on the yarn. The thinner the yarn, the thinner the hook. So I make a magic circle, starting with a tail on the front. Go through. I make what's called a slip knot. Sometimes I chain one, sometimes I don't. I'm not rigid about it. But then I make approximately 18 half double crochets. Once again, the thicker the yarn, the less half double crochets. The thinner the yarn, the more. And also the size of the button will make a difference as to how many half double crochets you make. You'll have to experiment. Half double crochet is wrap the yarn, go under, fetch the yarn. Now you've got 3 on your hook. Fetch the yarn, pull it through all 3. So half double crochet. Wrap the yarn, go into your magic loop, fetch the yarn. You've got 3 on your hook. Fetch the yarn, pull it through all 3. Wrap, fetch, pull through all 3. Wrap, fetch, fetch again, pull through all 3. Wrap, fetch, fetch again, pull through all 3. And you just continue with that until you have 18. The way I count, now if you had chained one extra, you would have one extra there, but if you haven't, you literally can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't matter whether you're making 16 or 18, but what you want is you want both of them to be identical. So do both of them at exactly the same time. And then once you have the desired side, cut a very long tail, about 30 centimeters. And then what you will do is, I can't do this one because it's glued down, but what you'll do is you'll place it over the eye like that, over the button, and you will pull the magic tail and it will tighten. Then you will close with a V there. You'll close the V with your tail. So you take your tail and you'll literally work into that V there. You'll pull it through, then you'll go back again, and your whole loop will be beautifully closed. And then I just work. That's why I don't do it when it's stuffed. I do before it's stuffed. And then you work all the way around, you sewing it down. And it is actually easier to do when you do not have the antenna, because the antenna tends to pull it and it gets warped like that. So even if you've decreased maybe 2 or 3 rows, you've got enough space to work it in. Happy knitting! I know this is an awful video. It's not a whole huge demonstration, but it is for someone who actually knows how to make comfort dolls and wants just to see how to do the little alien. So that's basically it. This is the first one I tried to make a mini, but as you can see, the little body was so short. Look at that. So I thought, okay, let me make the body longer. Added a couple of rows, positioned the underarms, and very happy with that. Just added a little skirt. But you can play around with the size. There's no rules. There's no rules or regulations. There's absolutely no rules and regulations. They can be any size you want. They can be any color you want. Once you get the proportions right, you know, the head to the body, to the proportions you like. You might like the little short legs. This one's even got a little mouth added. Just wanted a little mouth. As I'm making them, their character tends to come out. And I had this was a collar. I tried the original collar and it was too small, so I made another one. This is Lulu from Eruda Genie. And I had the collar spare, and I thought, oh, you know what? The collar will fit into the alien, so I sewed it on. And I added a few rows in. I weaved in and out because I decrease with a Tunisian style decrease, and so I have these openings there. You can see here, so the Tunisian style decrease. Look. Gives a very pretty little pattern. Thank you very much. Bye for now.